Understand the boundaries of the assignment. Most likely you'll find considerable variety in your college writing assignments. Sometimes a professor will indicate that you can write on a topic of your choosing. Other times you may be given a highly specific assignment. Highly specific assignment. Most assignments, though, will fit somewhere in between. In any case, you shouldn't start a writing paper until you know what's expected. First, clarify the kind of paper the instructor has in mind. Assume the instructor asks you to discuss the key ideas in an assigned reading. What exactly does the instructor want you to do? Should you include a brief summary of the selection? Should you compare the author's ideas with your own view of the subject? Should you determine if the author's view is supported by valid evidence? If you're not sure about an assignment, ask your instructor, not the student next to you, who may be as confused as you, to make the requirements clear. Most instructors are more than willing to provide an explanation. They would rather take a few minutes of class time to explain the assignment rather than spend hours reading dozens of students' essays that miss the mark. Second, find out how long the paper is expected to be. Many instructors will indicate the appropriate length of the papers they assign. If no length requirement is provided, discuss with the instructor what you plan to cover and indicate how long you think the paper will be. The instructor will either give you the go-ahead or help you refine the direction and scope of your work. Determine your purpose, audience, tone, and point of view. Once you understand the requirements of a writing assignment, you're ready to begin thinking about the essay. What is its purpose? For what audience will it be written? What tone and point of view will you use? Later on, you may modify your decisions about these issues. That's fine. But you need to understand the way these considerations influence your work in the early phases of the writing process. Understand the way these considerations influence your work in the early phases of the writing process. Purpose. Start by clarifying to yourself the essay's broad purpose. What do you want the essay to accomplish? The papers you write in college are usually meant to inform or explain, to convince or persuade, and sometimes to entertain. In practice, writing often combines purposes. You might, for example, write an essay trying to convince people to support a new trash recycling program in your community. But before you win readers over, you most likely would have to explain something about current waste disposal technology. When purposes blend in this way, the predominant one influences the essay's content, organization, pattern of development, emphasis, and language. Assume you're writing about a political campaign. If your primary goal is to entertain, to take a gentle poke at the two candidates, you might use the comparison-contrast pattern to organize your essay. You might, for example, start with several accounts of one candidate's foot-and-mouth disease, and then describe the attempts of the other candidate, a multimillionaire, to portray himself as an average Joe. Your language, full of exaggeration, would reflect your objective. But if your primary purpose is to persuade readers that the candidates are incompetent and shouldn't be elected, you might adopt a serious, straightforward style. Selecting the argumentation persuasion pattern to structure the essay, you might use one candidate's gaffes and the other's posturing to build the case that neither is worthy of public office. Writing is a social act and thus implies a reader or an audience. To write effectively, you need to identify who your readers are and to take their expectations and needs into account. An essay about the artificial preservatives in the food served by the campus cafeteria would take one form if submitted to your chemistry professor, and a very different form if written for the college newspaper. The chemistry paper would probably be formal and technical, complete with chemical formulations and scientific data. Distillation revealed sodium benzoate particles suspended in gelatinous medium. But such technical material would be inappropriate in a newspaper column intended for general readers. In this case, you might provide specific examples of cafeteria foods containing additives. Those deliciously smoked cold cuts are loaded with nitrates and nitrites, both known to cause cancer in laboratory animals, and suggest ways to eat more healthfully. Pass by the deli counter and fill up instead on vegetarian pizza and fruit juices. If you forget your readers, your essay can run into problems. Consider what happened when one student, Roger Saluki, submitted a draft of his essay to his instructor for feedback. The assignment was to write about an experience that demonstrated the value of education. Here's the opening paragraph from Roger's first draft. When I received my first page as an EMT, I realized pretty quickly that all the weeks of KED and CPR training paid off. At first, when the call came in, it was nerve city for this guy. I tell you, when the heat is on, my mind tends to go as blank as a TV screen at 2 a.m. in the morning. But I beat it to the van right away. After a couple of false turns, my partner and I finally got to the right house and found a woman fibrillating and suffering severe myocardial arrhythmia. Despite our anxiety, our heads were on straight. We knew exactly what to do. Roger's instructor found his essay unclear because she knew nothing about being an ENT. When writing the essay, Roger neglected to consider his audience. Specifically, he forgot that college instructors are no more knowledgeable about anyone else about subjects outside their specialty. Roger's instructor also commented that she was thrown off guard by the paper's casual, slangy approach. It was nerve city for this guy, I can tell you. I beat it to the van right away. Roger used a breezy colloquial style, almost as though he were chatting about the experience with friends, but the instructor had expected a more formal approach. Has anybody ever seen a 100 number? Not 1-800. 10001234556. You think I'm gonna answer it and your phone number comes up retarded? Obviously, when I call it, it's not going to have a number. I started to say, don't call me! Without a real phone number.